Hello.
There.
How you doing?
Great. How are you?
Good. Great to see
Wonderful.
you.
Great to be seen. We lost Mr. Sell already. He was on and then he's off.
Oh,
Oh, he's back. Hello, Mr. Kovar. Oh my goodness, Mr. Brenner. It's like we just saw each other. It's almost like we're in the same house.
hi guys.
Hey, how's
How
it
you
going?
doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Oh, there he is. What's up,
Did
sir?
everybody have a good holiday?
I had a wonderful holiday. How about you?
Busy. I'm glad it's over.
I got to share a quick story. Just as we're having rain like crazy in California, right? So we have this tree in the backyard. It's this big old, it's like a olive family that my wife hates and wanted me to cut down. So I got a bid for it. It's gonna be a couple grand to cut it down this spring. Well, and by the way, my cabin, I need firewood. Okay, I'm not out of firewood. And what do you know, man? A couple nights ago, crack in the middle of the night. And if it would have fallen any other way, it would have taken out the fence, the house, or the garage. But if I was perfectly on the lawn, and so I got rid of my tree and I got a cord of firewood out of
Firewood.
the deal. So, yeah, it all
That's
worked out.
that's some good living. That's some good
Yeah.
living.
Yeah,
That is good juju to start the new year.
there you go.
So wait, how are you getting the firewood though from one house to the next? So this was in the
No, it's for my my kids and I, my son and I, got the chainsaws out. We did manly stuff, chainsaw and axe, and had a great
Chop wood,
time. And then we just,
chop
take a
wood. I
truck
always
and
say
bring it up
chop
to the
wood,
cabin.
carry
So,
wood.
it's great fun.
Wood
Very
carry
Is
wood.
that the book? Chop wood, carry wood, or something?
Yeah, there you go.
Love it.
Well, anyway, guys, welcome. We're already live. I appreciate just like jumping right into it without any preamble to start. So for everybody who's watching, super exciting. I can't imagine anyone on here isn't known in the martial arts Facebook business world, but I thought it would be good just in case. Let's go through like a quick round of introduction. So Miss Mary, since you're the much better looking Mr. Kiefer and you get to be with us today, do you want to go first?
Sure. Well, I'm Kelly Murray, and I am a team training specialist. Basically, I help companies hire, recruit, train their teams. I run a management training specific program where I really focus on developing the right systems and the right habits for them to be successful day to day. I'm a mama. I have two small boys, 5 and 1. Happily married. I live in Florida, and I'm really excited to be here. Adam was bummed that he couldn't make it, but I secretly was excited that he couldn't make it.
We were also excited that you were coming instead of somebody. I'm just kidding, but we're actually right. The reason Solomon and I are in the same room today, or almost the same room, we had a meeting with some of our schools earlier, and you actually came up. We were talking about hiring and instructors, and your quote of it's either hell yeah,
It's not a hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah, exactly. I took, of course, credit for that. And then one of our other people argued that it was his idea. But anyway, we used to, which was awesome. Yeah. Mr. Kovar, go for it, sir.
So Dave Kovar, got some schools in a chain of schools in Northern California, and I coach other schools.
Easy. Nice. Mr. Sell.
And he's a legend.
Legend.
Tell my wife that.
Again, Mr. Sell, you're up.
Yeah, so I'm Ron Sell. I own and operate Spark Membership. It's a software for martial arts schools and fitness centers and kickboxing places and things like that. So we help about 4,000 schools across the world, really make their life a lot easier and, live the life they deserve and impact their communities in a deeper way. So I love doing that. I'm also in Florida, in Tampa, and I got 5 kids. And I also now own a martial arts school as well. I got back in the game about a year ago. So enjoying every aspect of that.
And you go to lots of concerts.
I do. Yes, as a matter of fact, I had to renew my my box today, and I said, "Do you have another box? I want 2 boxes this year." And so now I own 2 boxes of of concert tickets. It's 31 concerts this year. So
You're like
damn
black
excited.
belt level concert goer. At this
You know
point.
what? I am. And we travel. About 4 years ago, we jumped in an airplane and actually went to another city, New York, Manhattan. And then we said, wow, this is kind of cool to actually fly to a place and see a concert, because typically you wait till the band or whoever you want to see comes to you, right?
Yeah.
And then as soon as that happened, now we're flying all over the place doing that. So in addition to the 31 concerts, we enjoy that.
What was your best concert of 2022?
It's impossible to say, because every time I went to another one, I'd say, oh, this is the best one. And then I go to another one and this is the best one. Some of the ones that stick out was like Kiss, which I didn't grow up with Kiss. That was like 5 years before me. And these guys are all 72 years old on stage singing. And I just couldn't believe how amazing they were. I was just blown away. And then I saw NF in concert. I had never even heard of the guy, but I'm like, I got tickets, I'm going. And within 30 seconds, I was like, holy crap, this guy is just absolutely phenomenal human being and a great performer. And, it was just awesome. But I could go on for about another hour and a half on
we don't really have anything to talk about yet. I would say my standout concert that I was most surprised by was Green Day. Like I like some Green Day music, and I thought it'd be fun to see. And then when I saw them live, and I was like, oh, I get why these is like a headlining. Yeah.
Well, you're in good company, that's for sure.
Mr. Brenner, quick introduction.
Well, I have a question for Mr. Sell. How many seats are in a box?
4. So now I got 8. So now the problem before is when you only have 4. So we bought 4 and we're like, we'll just keep we'll take clients, or we'll take our, our friends, or sometimes we'll throw our kids in there. And then we got to the point where like our kids want to go, our friends want to go, people want to fly in from out of state to go. So I figured just bite the bullet. So now we got 8 seats.
Obviously, we get rid of me, and the 4 on this call are, the other box. So
yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Come on down.
I'm already in Florida, so I feel like I get the
easy.
first.
100%.
You absolutely, of course you get first, of course. So anyway, and Kiss, I love that you brought them up, because they're like the most successful marketing band, I think, of all time or something. Even though they weren't the most successful of all time, apparently their marketing was ridiculous. And I wonder if them being on stage at 72 is a decision they want because they love being on stage, like a Paul McCartney kind of person, or they need the money. I bet they don't need the money because their marketing was
100% thought the same thing. Because I'm like, at 72 years old, what they put their bodies through. Again, let me give you one quick story about that concert. Okay. So I've gone to so many concerts and I know the setup. They start going, hey, how, do you want us to come out in the audience? And they, everybody goes crazy. Yeah, come on the audience. And I'm thinking, man, this guy's 72 years old. He's not gonna, and it's in the middle of COVID, right? So I'm thinking this is like the worst idea ever. Did someone consult with him before he, started? But he just didn't stop. 5 minutes, he's hyping this up. And I'm like, now he's going to pull the rug out because he's 72, it's COVID, and, there's 17,000 people here, right? And sure enough, this like little rope comes down from the rafters about 200 feet down. It's got a little noose at the bottom. He puts his foot in it. He grabs the rope. They swing it, 72 years old, by the way. They swing him out to a stage I didn't even see in the middle of the audience. He plays 3 songs. The rope comes back down, puts his foot in it, swings all the way at least 35 feet above everybody's heads, lands on the stage, keeps playing. I'm like, holy crap. This morning, it was hard for me to get out of bed. My back hurt. And this guy, 72 years old, so it's pretty awesome.
Expert level.
A lot of good drugs.
Expert.
Yeah. Good drugs.
Yeah, sure.
Good drugs.
Anyway, Solomon Brenner, we run schools in the Philadelphia area. And, our whole thing is kind of like what Mr. Sell said, like helping people create the lifestyle that they want, make the money they want, the impact that they want. And we also are big believers in buying our real estate. And all of you guys have impacted me, and by nature, since Michael at the same time. So thank you guys for being here with us today.
Yeah, I would sure to say I've always thought of myself as like the little kid in the room, because for so many years, like that's what I was, like following Solomon and Jackie around to like seminars and like all these conferences. Mr. Cover, I shared with you last time you were here. The first time I saw you and your brother, I was 12 at, a NAPMA conference somewhere in Vegas. So it's very cool for me to be hanging out with you and, moderating some questions. And I think I sent this message to all of you guys, but I think this is most fun when we have some like good disagreement and good conversation. So I know like the culture a lot of times.
I don't agree with that viewpoint at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, Mr. Cover, you'll just be disagreeable to be disagreeable. I know.
Yes.
But everybody else, I think, we can certainly ask questions and have, some good conversation for the next 30 minutes or so. So anyway, what I wanted to start with, since it's the beginning of the year, and I'm sure most of us are in this mindset, is lessons learned from 2022. Whether it's, personally, professionally, your business, all of you talk to a lot of schools around the country, anywhere. So Mr. Cover, why don't you start? Because I know you took vigorous notes from my message I sent.
Yeah, so I think for me, it would be, and I'm going to expand it beyond 2022. I'm going to go back a little bit more. It's like, it's really hard to get back into a good, even if you had a certain way of doing things. COVID hit and we changed how we doing things. We simplified a lot of stuff. It's hard to get back to your old habits. And so, like, for example, I just got done doing what's called a Red Coat Summit just minutes before this call. And we do it a couple times a year where we get all our head instructors there and we talk, we just basically reboot, we zero base. And this was on classroom, how to break down classes. Like if you have 3 instructors and 40 kids and how do you break it? What's the best use of classes? And what had happened, this is basic stuff we've been doing for literally decades. But with COVID, we went to the screen and all of a sudden we had all these mixed belt classes because that's the easiest way to do it. And we had white belts and brown belts, and you end up teaching to that intermediate level, which is too difficult for the, for the beginners and too easy for the advanced, so to speak. And then once we get back in the classroom, a lot of the newer instructors, they either had never learned the way we'd always done it or forgotten. And we had to, kind of reboot the system. So I'm reminded about the importance of guarding your good habits. Because it's way easier to keep a good habit than it is to break a bad habit. And I knew that already, but that's top of mind right now for me.
I need to go next.
Okay, yes, ma'am, go.
Just because I have to piggyback, and I was thinking about this when you sent the questions. And for me, 2022 was really a year that I rebuilt my life. And I recall having so many moments of being thankful for the habits that I had, the discipline that I had cultivated throughout the early years of my life, throughout my 20s, my 30s, that really prepared me for what I experienced in the last couple of years. And without those habits, without that practice, I wouldn't have made it through. So in 2022, I was able to kind of pick up the pieces of my life. For those of you who don't know, my daughter passed away in 2020. And not only did I lose my child, but we had to leave our home in Costa Rica, all of our things. I stopped working. And for the next year or so, I really felt lost. I was in a very deep grief coma, dark place. But had I not had those habits and those practices built within me since I was 3 years old, I don't know what my life would look like at this point. So I learned in 2022 that you can come back from anything. You really can. And, if you have those discipline habits and practices in your life and you do them when you're in a good place, because it's a lot easier to do them when you're feeling good. It's a lot easier to work out and eat well and connect. And it's a practice that's worth having, because when those hard times hit, they will pull you through. So that was probably my biggest lesson in 2022.
Yeah, I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I was, most of social media is obviously like all like the shiny good stuff. And you've always been like so open and transparent. And like, when you're going through all of that, like you wrote about it and shared about it. I think, right, just amazing. Such a good example for all of us.
Thank you.
Lessons learned there, Mr. Sell?
Yeah. So, the lesson for me in 2022 was really the power of creating a really strong leadership team or a team around me. One of the things that happened at the very beginning of 2022 was I got overwhelmed. As a matter of fact, I wrote a resignation letter to my partners in Spark and in Pitbull and everything, because I was so overwhelmed in my life. I do have 5 kids. I have 5 businesses. And I was the guy that everybody went to for every single thing. Like my programming team would come to me for advice, and my marketing team and the customer support. And then my managers would come to me, and I found myself just totally overwhelmed one day. And then I remembered this, and that is every time in my life that I've been unbelievably overwhelmed, overworked, it was right before a major breakthrough in my life. So I was able to take a big deep breath and say, I'm overwhelmed. That means I'm going to have a breakthrough. I don't know when it's coming, but I know that it's coming soon. And so that sort of took some stress. I ripped up the letter, threw it away. That was a dumb idea to begin with anyways. But
I don't think he would have let you.
No, they would have come and kicked my butt. That's for sure.
So can I interject? I'm sorry.
Go right ahead, please.
I was going to say, what you remind me of is that, we've all had highs and lows, and in particular dark period of our business where we're just on the verge of bankruptcy and totally holding, barely holding on, and had this one day where I had this like manic moment where I could see the potential, right? And who better to give you advice than yourself? And so I wrote myself like a mantra. when I was at a hot to say to myself when I was in a low spot, because this is how life is, you know, and you don't learn that when you're as you age, you realize, hey man, we'll get through this. This too shall pass. And I'll tell you, I can't tell you how many times I utilize that mantra, you know, when you're in that low spot and you're feeling overwhelmed, that you're thinking about writing in the resignation letter. Good stuff.
Yeah, well, I want that mantra from you. That's for sure.
I haven't, I can say anytime
Listen,
you're ready.
I've been repeating your mantras since I was like 12
All right,
years
here
old
we
as
go.
well. You know what I mean?
Like, go skip ahead. We're doing mantras later. You're gonna skip ahead to the mantra now. We're out of order.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll do it later.
Yeah. Well, so what I did is because I was so overwhelmed, all right, stressed out, and it wasn't about money. It was just really just about inputs, right? So it came to the point where I was like, okay, what am I really stressed out about? Business is doing well. Everything's going right. Kids are great. I just feel like there's too many inputs in my life. Too many people have access to me. Too many messages from Facebook and my phone. Matter of fact, I think I got 12,000 unread text messages on my phone. I just stopped it all. I stopped every single, I'm sorry, Solomon, if you messaged me in a day. But I basically what I did is I had to kind of start from zero, and I just stopped responding to email, messages, text messages. And that kind of gave me a breather. And then I was like, all right, well, this feels good, but it's not sustainable because people are going to get mad at me. As a matter of fact, my mom called 12 times and said, why are you ignoring me? So then I like, okay, what's the next step? And I'm like, all right, well, I just need less inputs. And so I started training our team, and I have the best team at Spark. They give a damn, they care. They have bought in to the vision of what martial arts does in people's communities, right? Like, I know what the martial arts does in communities, and we've spread that message to our entire team. So they're there. So I'm like, I can't let the whole team talk to me anymore. I got to have like just a certain amount of people, and those people can go to them. And what I found is that my team really was awesome. And a lot of the questions didn't even need to get to me. So now I had less and less inputs, and my joy went up. But at the same time, you know, we kept growing as a company. So it was really a good lesson for me that when I'm feeling like there's too much inputs, to rely on the well-trained, amazing team that's around me, because they can handle things that I didn't think maybe, you know, I thought I had to handle everything, right? And
yeah,
so
Ron, I've seen
yeah.
such a big difference in you this past year. And just obviously we really only see each other at events, but I've seen you speak, and there was something very light and something very clear and focused about you at the summit in November that I hadn't seen in the year earlier. So
Well,
I could tell you were on fire.
And you know what? I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Because that's, you know, I feel that. And you know what that allowed me to do is allowed me to focus on my genius more too.
Yeah.
Like, I really do have a genius in a very small, narrow area. And when I had all these inputs and I'm focusing on so much, it didn't really allow me to be in my favorite place, right? The place that I can do the most impact. And so, you know, I guess the lesson that I learned to sum it all up is that remember that when you're stressed out, overwhelmed, you're on the cusp of a real breakthrough in your life, right? So next time you get overwhelmed, anxious, or whatever, get excited instead, because now you know you're going to the next level as a human being, right?
Love it.
And the second thing is like really, and Kelly, this is what you do, right? You train teams. And so really train your team more and more so that they can handle some of the things so that you can move into your genius zone.
You can get out of the way. We just want you out of the way.
Okay.
Right? That's like our fundamental, like we're always getting in our own way. And so training our teams allows us to let them step up, let them lead. They got this. They're great.
Yes, they do. 100%. Yeah.
I think you can go to more concerts and get out of the way, and then you'll be set, and you can answer my text while you're out of the way. So
all right. So instead of resigning, I'm just going to fire myself. Got it. All right.
with the big pension, right? Awesome. Is my turn now?
Yes, your turn. Yes, sir.
Amazing. So for me, I think you guys stole most of my stuff, so I appreciate that. And it probably because I listen to you guys so much, so you know, it's some of the same stuff. But for me, like from the business side of it, it's always, I'm constantly reminded, and this year in reflection, I'm trying to be better at it, that all there really is are the people. There is nothing else. And making sure it's the right people. And all of our schools are 2 people. So making sure they're a team that complement each other and somewhat like and respect each other, and that they're in the right positions. And all of those things happening at the same time is like the entire tricky part, not just taking the person closest to me who's willing to take the least amount of money. Maybe the person needs the most money is actually the best. And just really focusing on having those people seek me out, or seek not me, but like really Sensei Michael, seek out us. And, they see that martial arts can be a lifestyle that they really want. And then on a personal level, I've been focusing a lot on like the Stoic idea of there is no tomorrow. Like you need to just live today because there's no guarantee of tomorrow. And I just want to real fast, and you guys are all like, I know super good friends with like Roland, and I know his brother just passed. And, we should send out some good prayers towards him. And when I read it, it was just, again, like, there's no guarantee. I'm sure he thought he was going to talk to his brother tomorrow.
Mhm.
And now there is no tomorrow, anyway. So like, for me, it's like
100%.
trying to remind myself, like every day has got to matter because, there's nothing else.
100%.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up. Anybody listened to the Daily Stoic podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I first heard it from you, Mr. Kovar, or I feel like we all hear the same things now all the time. But anyway, so one of the articles that I read that Mr. Brenner, you shared, was this comedian, right? And he was going through a divorce. He found out his wife cheated on him. His wife was his life is falling apart, right? All the things that could go wrong are going wrong. And, when I was thinking about 2020, 23, he came up with his mantra. His mantra was, yes, thank you. And exactly what you said, Mr. Sell, about, when you have the most challenges, you're on the way to a breakthrough. For me, that was such a cool thing, right? Like, okay, this obstacle, thank you for that. Mr. Brenner, with your beautiful daughter, Hera, one of the things I was so impressed by you is, waking up crying in the middle of the night, the opportunity. I think yours was opportunity. You have the opportunity to go spend time with her. Like, that's a special opportunity, right? So anyway, so his was, yes, thank you. Mr. Kovar, if you want to share your mantra, because I know I stopped you very abruptly.
No, it's all good.
First.
Yeah, such good stuff. And by the way, just on a side note, Ryan Holiday is one of my favorite authors. I'm actually doing Ego is the Enemy right now. It's such a good book, and there's so much that I can do better after reading. And I realize I'm going to go back through and find all the ones that I haven't read of his. And that's what I also look at it like, what book, sometimes I might read a book, it's good, and I toss it away. I don't remember what was in it. And now for me, it's more quality, not quantity. So I'll read the same book 2 or 3 times and dog ear and an underline, and that way I can actually sustain it. But my mantra, like I said, low point, feeling like things are moving in the right direction, is I'm strong, calm, and committed. I will not move back in fear. Instead, I will move forward with confidence, born of good thinking and hard work. I will not let occasional doubts change my focus. Be it work or play, I will strive to be in the present moment. Every day I'll do my best and leave the rest to God and retire to my home worry free. Life is good, and I'm constantly reminded of that fact. So that was what got me through a bunch of low spots. It was like that. I'd feel like, oh, how am I going to get through this? I'd read my mantra, and it was like all of a sudden I'd feel my my chin come up, my shoulders back, and I'd grind through the day. And memento mori, that's the that's the Stoic phrase for there's only we only live this today. It's so powerful to remember that we all know this, but we can't control what's going on around us, but we can control how we perceive what's going on around us. And so we can decide to be offended or not, and like, yes, great, or whatever the line was,
Yes,
the guy
you.
had.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you. What a great way of looking. It's kind of like Jocko, every time Jocko Willink talked about every time he got a problem, he says, good. That was his response. But, it's so easy to say that in theory, but to actually really apply that in your life. And I'm finding, not all the time, but more and more, as I'm mindful and living on purpose, that I'm able to do that more, to where stuff just doesn't bother me as much. I got to watch what I say, knock on wood, right? But I think it's, we've never arrived. We're always arriving. You know what I'm saying? We're always got to get up and roll the sleeves up and do the best we can. So my one last thing is, for me, that kind of my lifetime mantra is take care of the days and the years take care of themselves. What can I do today to treat my family right, treat my team right, exercise, eat right, work hard, and that's it, man. And get up tomorrow and do the same thing. And it really is that simple. It's not easy, but it really is that simple.
Yeah, love it. Anybody else have their mantra they've thought of?
Well, after he went, obviously nobody wants to go. And
I know. I need to go rewrite mine.
He's just like memorizing the 50 states and capitals. It's like, what are you saying here? I'll do mine if you don't mind. I know you like me to go last for some reason. And by the way, Michael, you did not share your reflection of last year. I don't know if you have anything.
I'll share mine with my mantra because they tied it together.
All right. So my mantra, if you guys don't know, I've been married coming up. It's been a long time. So I'm like an example of an ideal husband, but I've been married for almost 3 years.
Congratulations.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, and she is truly a saint. And during my logical times, I see that. But during when my brain is flushed with chemicals and she's annoying me, for legitimately, it's only in my own head, and I get it during the logical times. But and I can only fix me. So my growth mantra, or like the phrase that I use constantly now, is, how do I grow out of this? And so when we're in, and it was originally not for like a business thing, but it was really for me to have, like, I know I want to stay married. I know that she's amazing, and I know I love her and she loves me, and we have an awesome, family. But of course, when I'm aggravated, then I'm aggravated. So if I constantly say to myself, how do I grow out of this? Then, it made me feel better, and it gets me out of the bad chemicals in my brain way quicker than before, when I was like discussing how I was, how I married the wrong woman. And I say that half jokingly, but that would be if it's in my head until the chemicals wash away. So now it's, how do I grow out of this? And I think it fits for everything for me, whether it's business or my marriage or, anybody I'm talking to. How do I grow out of this, no matter what they say or do?
It's really been fun to watch you, because I see you 3-4 times a year for the last decade, to see what's happened now that you're actually married and have a kid. It's really cool. Yeah,
and you've been counseling
totally
me all that time.
What?
Besides, you guys, so the benefit of Mr. Kovar visiting us 3 or 4 times a year over the last decade is I'm the one who drives him around to the different schools. And I always have an agenda in the car of trying to get his stoic wisdom as we're driving. And I would always get like 30 minutes to an hour of driving with him. So I super appreciate that. And a lot of this certainly comes from you.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say Mr. Brenner's transformation post baby and marriage is very interesting if you know him. So this one, I think, speaking of that, looking back on last year, and my mantra for this year is patience. And we're very aggressively targeting growth the past 12 months, and we still are. And shockingly, none of it happens as fast as we want it to happen or think it's going to happen. And I think it's easy to, I think for everybody, but for me, to get discouraged by, oh, it's not working. And it's okay, taking that deep breath of like, okay, it's just not working as fast as I want it to work. Doesn't mean it's not working. Just like coming back to patience. My one for the past couple of years has been flexibility, because I have very strong opinions all the time that I'm very rigid about. So I think I got better at the flexibility. Now I'm working on patience. So for me, it's one word: patience.
You don't want to ask God for patience, brother. Only one way to learn that.
You want to share yours, sir?
My mantra?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I wasn't prepared for this. So, but
Mr. Kovar came up with his on the spot, and that was perfect.
I know. Well, the only thing that I can think of, year 2022 was a year of big growth for me, my family, and my business, right? And I sort of got stagnant for a little bit. I started enjoying the spoils a little bit, and as soon as I think October hit last year, I started really thinking, what's my next step? And my next step is like to 10x my life again. And I think it's going to be easier. So all I'm thinking about right now is just growth. How do I help more people? How do I grow more personally? How do I help my family and my kids grow? We talked about this, Solomon. I started a book last year, and the book is only going to be for my kids. Like it's a book that I've written down all my thoughts and my feelings and that kind of stuff about them and the lessons I've learned in my life. And so that I can share that with my kids. And I was going to wait till I was dead, but I decided not to do that. I've already started sharing that, and it's a living document to me. But that's really for this 2023 years, I really just want to focus on growth. How can I grow other people bigger and bigger, help more people? And I'm really excited about that. So the only thing in my mantra right now, it's not 472 words like Master Kovar. It's more just one word, and that is just grow. How do I grow? How do I help people grow? How do I grow my family, grow my kids? My kids are preteens, man. I know now is the time that I got to really put more effort into that. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm most excited about growth this year.
Amazing. Love it.
That's my mantra. Grow.
Love it.
Kelly?
So I guess my mantra that I've always used, I'll share that one, not super specific to 2023 necessarily, but I've always used the mantra, may it be this or something better. And that was something I learned from my yoga practice. I'm a pretty devoted yogi, something that I really use as a tool, both physically and mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And it reminds me to stay in gratitude. Like what I have right now is awesome. And may it be this, or if not this, I'm also a control freak. I like to control things. But I know that if it's not, meant for me, then I'm okay. Something else is coming, something better is coming. And, the opportunity for whatever's next is going to bring me exactly where I need to be. So there's an element of trust and surrender and letting go and not trying to control everything. So it's a good reminder for me personally, when things don't go my way, may it be this or something better. I think for 2023, my focus is pushing myself outside my comfort zone. I haven't felt very confident in the past couple of years about who I am or, where I'm going. Like I said, I went through a lot, and really this last year, I had a baby last year. So that also kind of puts everything kind of crazy out of whack. Your body's not your own for a long time, and your kids need you so much when they're little. But I'm really starting to feel like myself again after 5 years of pregnancies and having children and going through trauma, uprooting my family. We bought our house last year. We finally moved in. My business is doing amazing. I've partnered with some awesome people in the industry, with Relentless, with Adam, and with our coaches on that team. So I feel like everything is moving in the right direction. So now it's just about really pushing myself to get uncomfortable again and really saying yes to opportunities that will just move me in that direction again. It's easy to get comfortable because you want to be safe. You want to, you don't want to push yourself beyond what's comfortable. And that's obviously not going to get you where you want to go. So
I think you said something so authentic and so awesome. And for me, you talked about you not being confident. Like, I don't know, like I haven't seen you speak as much as some of the other people on here have, but every time I have, it's always like, yeah, she's right. Yeah, she's perfect. We should just hire her. She's amazing. She's perfect. And the idea that you would go through, you're not confident in what you do would like boggle me, because you're so on point. Anyway,
thank you.
For me, it's like, reminds me that like other people are going through it, and I'm also normal for thinking the same thing, although I'm probably overconfident. I'm just kidding. But everybody's going through something. Anyway, I love that you said that, and it boggles my mind you'd ever be unconfident.
Yeah, he speaks the truth.
Thank you.
For sure. So speaking of growth and just like interesting things happen in the industry, and Kelly, I was super excited that you were going to be on for this one because I think you might have some really I'm sure you have interesting insight. Because I think you've seen this in another organization too. So Premier Martial Arts, and I'm sure everybody on here, at least the four of us know the story, but anybody who doesn't know, Premier Martial Arts over the past 3 years, they have 200 locations open. They sold another 400 territories. I mean, as far as like martial arts industry, franchise growth, I don't know who's beating that. And, it was very, they were bought by Unleashed Brands in early 2021 that, has a whole family of, child development brands. And then about like 4 weeks ago, Solomon and I were chatting with someone and we started hearing rumors of a lawsuit. And then right around Thanksgiving or right after, I don't know if did anybody read the lawsuit or read the briefing?
Yeah.
So anyway, so like the gist of it is, there's some misrepresentation. The model was sold as this, absentee, work 10 to 20 hours a week, make a lot of money, be really successful, and you have your little karate empire. And I can speak from experience running our schools. Very rarely do any of our schools work 10 to 20 hours a week and have a really thriving business. So my question for all of us is, number one, does this affect the industry at all? Like, does anybody care, or is it just like, kind of gossip of the industry? And if we do think it affects it, how does it affect it? And kind of like, okay, how do someone's going to figure this out. Someone's going to grow a really giant organization at some point. Like, it happened. The karate can't be that unique, at least my opinion. It's not that unique. Like, there's uniqueness to it. How do we get there? And Kelly, I don't know, you can share whatever you want, but I know you have some interesting experience on
This sounds so familiar to me.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, I'm curious, you can start us off with it,
Yeah, I have so many emotions about it just because the experience that I had at I Love Kickboxing, for those of you who don't know, I worked for a fitness franchise, I Love Kickboxing, very, very similar outcome to what happened at Premier. And, it's heartbreaking, honestly. It's being that I was on the side of servicing our franchisees and getting to know these people as human beings, as moms, as dads, as people who are investing their life savings and their nest eggs and, betting the farm, so to speak, to understand what was actually going on behind the scenes. It's heartbreaking. And unfortunately, I think people were duped both, back then and also with Premier. But I think it's, for me, to expect that you could be semi-absentee in your business, like hopefully nobody thinks that anymore. It's a pipe dream. I don't think any of us are doing what we're doing now because we were semi-absentee from our business, or because we were able to find the right person right away to just insert and let them do it. So hopefully the lesson that we've all learned is that doesn't happen. You do need to be invested, whether you're a franchisee or a standalone. You need to be passionate about what you're doing. You need to have time and resources and capital, and it costs money, and it costs, your talent, your effort. So hopefully the lesson we're learning is like, there's no easy magic pill to this. There is work involved, and it doesn't have to be hard, but it's still going to be work. It's still going to be effort. As far as your first question, like, it doesn't affect me at all. I just keep my eyes on my own paper. I'm not one to necessarily look around and say, what's everybody else doing? So personally, it doesn't affect me, but I'm curious to know what y'all think in terms of whether it's relevant in our industry right now.
I think it's relevant. Relevant. In the fact that, as you said, Kelly, I know the Premier Martial Arts School owner here in Tampa, and they're suffering, right? I mean, they made him sign a 10-year lease, and it's only 2 years into the lease. Personally guaranteed that lease for the next 8 years, and rent in Tampa is not cheap, probably not cheap anywhere. But it's sort of heartbreaking, and so yeah. I think it's, I would. Too bad for a lot of people, and hopefully there is some lessons learned. And maybe I also saw some other Premier Martial Arts schools on Facebook reaching out to other Premier Martial Arts that were suffering and saying, hey, we'll help you. Like, we've been in business for 15, 20 years. We'll help you. We'll give our time. So it's like, it's really cool to see that, like, reaching down a hand and saying, hey, we're not going to get anything out of this. And, we don't even need to do this, but we're going to help our brothers and sisters out anyways. Right. I think that was real powerful to see that this week as well.
For sure. There's also, the flip side of all of this, there's also hundreds of really successful ones too. We're seeing like, the noise right now, but, and of course, a school closing anywhere is bad for everybody. A school not doing well anywhere is bad for all of us. There's also lots of really good stuff happening too.
Mr. Kovar, you have anything I feel like, you had an expansion.
It's scary expanding that fast. Most of you guys know our story. We were infused with a bunch of venture capital money and attempted to have a national chain, got up to 20 schools, way over our head, had to backtrack, still paying off debt 15 years later. Tail end of it, by the way, But so it scares the dickens out of me. I think it's really, I think the intentions of Premier were honorable. We've got a good product. You put a lot of time and effort into it. At the end of the day, I don't know well enough firsthand, know what happened, except for the fact that, sometimes if it seems too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And, when we were going through our expansion, I was in these, I did a bunch of like Wall Street pitches to raise money with a bunch of really, smart guys. And I remember thinking, well, this is too fast, but I'm just the dumb karate guy. It doesn't feel like we should be able to do it this fast, but what do I know? And I didn't listen to my gut. And when I saw the expansion going on there, I'm going, man, I don't think it's that easy. Same thing as you guys are saying. I'm not saying that there won't be someday a national chain, right? But this is such a personality-driven business that it's tricky. And I think, but they did break the 4-minute mile in our industry. More power to them to have a chain that got so big, that they were moving in the right direction. I just think somewhere they got out of control and started making.
You have to sell it authentically. You have to be honest about what you're selling. That's the problem. The problem probably was not Premier and the systems and the setup. And you probably could be very successful because, let's face it, if you have good systems, not all of us have to have the same systems. There's many paths to the same destination. But the problem was they were misrepresenting what it
Got
was
it.
they were
Yep.
selling. And that's where it went, I think, where you start to, your integrity is on the line. Like you
Yep.
have to be honest with people about what this is going to look like, what it's going to take, what kind of money you need to have. Otherwise, that's the dishonest part. And that makes us all look bad.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, so I think everything everybody said totally on point. I don't know much about the I Love Kickboxing thing. I read the Premier thing, and certainly I know, the founders of Premier. And I think for, anytime a school closes, it's bad for all of us, right? It just stains us all because people tell their cousins, their uncles, or whoever. But I also see like a positive in it. The reason that Wall Street originally wanted the Kovars was because of your unit economics. The reason that all these franchises sold was because of the unit economics, right? And there was a franchise group before Premier that sold a whole ton and they never got open. Premier figured out a way to sell them and get them open. They just couldn't figure, the problem really became, like Kelly said, they were sold under the guise of, you're going to work 10 or, and we visited a bunch of them, and we visited one where the owner lived in another state. And, oh, we see him like twice a year. And I was like, what are you talking about? See him twice a year. And I think it was just like sold in the wrong way. But the idea the way they were sold is because it's such a good business. Yeah. Right. Like it's, before they sold all, it was so good. So, and he got like hundreds of them open, hundreds. So to me, I look at it like, okay, that was one more step in the right direction. And then what Kelly said, as always, is totally on point. If it just would have been sold with, hey, listen, you're going to work there for 3 years minimum. It's going to be 50, 60 hours a week. Like there's no magic to this. You're just going to hustle. And after, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it takes, we're also going to help you develop a team, but it's going to be your team. You're not hiring from LinkedIn. Yeah. Or you're not hiring from ZipRecruiter or whoever. What's the other one that said, Michael, that I always forget the name? Indeed, right? Like if it was sold like that, they probably would have sold less, but those people would have knew what they were getting into. So I think that was the issue. And I think what I've seen, I think is unfair to the founders. I think people on Facebook are like kind of bashing him, like, what a scam artist he was. I think he had, like Mr. Kovar said, I think he had good intentions. All the original schools did well. I think he got in, this is my opinion. And by the way, we should say that like the lawsuit is all allegations. Nothing's happened yet, right? It's just a lawsuit. Who knows what that means? Is he got caught up in this whirlwind. If you guys ever been to like a franchise show or franchise salespeople or franchise brokers, or that's like a whole world in itself. And just like I'm sure when you were going through it, Mr. Kovar, like everybody's telling you, oh, like whatever you say you disagree with, they're like, oh, don't worry, we got this. And they're usually like wealthier and they have like a patina to them. They have like this, like, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, I can't believe I'm in this room. This is amazing, right? Like when I first started doing my angel investing, that's what I thought about. Like, everybody who spoke during those conferences, I was like, they're going to cure cancer. This is amazing. Then you're there for a couple of years, you realize like, probably not. I feel it's like the same way. Like, I think he got caught up in the machine of it. And everything was going to be like, oh, we'll fix this, we'll fix that, we'll fix this, we'll fix that. And then,
similar in our experience, I don't know, same with like the intentions. There's so many lessons you learn along the way. Like we've never franchised before. So I think in our case, and I can't speak for Premier, but certainly my experience was there were things we just didn't know, and you don't know until you know. So sometimes the mistakes that were made, they cause a lot of damage, but they weren't intentional. There's so many laws to franchising and there's so many loopholes, so you just never, at least I wasn't aware. And a lot of those things I didn't learn until after I left the company. But I don't think necessarily anyone was out to get people, as you said, Solomon. It's more so just really understanding what it is that you're selling to people and being honest and being authentic about that and having a good education on both sides before you do business with someone.
Yeah, I think like overall for me is it got one step further. And I think eventually somebody will figure out, there'll be the CVS or the Walgreens or, the Dwayne Reed of martial arts, like somebody will figure it out. And each one of these is like a stepping stone. And I was like, when I found out like about their exit and all that, like I called the founder and was like, congratulations, that's amazing. And, like Mr. Kovar said, like the 4 minute mile, I was like, this is unbelievable. Because of course we want to be, successful as well. But I always think you don't have to be first. If somebody else pays the path, I'm happy to walk the path. That's also wonderful. So, I think the people that are saying bad things on everybody saying there's bad things on Facebook, wasn't in his shoes at the time, wasn't doing what he was doing at the time. And I always think it's like easy to like, say what you're going to say when, you own one school and maybe that's successful or not, or two, whatever. When you get to 100, call me, you know what I mean? Like what he was doing. So I think it's like a different learning process. Or did you service any of the schools, Mr. Sell?
We have, I don't know if I can say much.
Okay.
So
Got
it's a
it.
reminder to me about the only way to do good business. It's like slow and steady wins the race for me. And I maybe because of the experience I went through, I'm so gun shy about rapid expansion. I know, Solomon, you and I've had this talk for years, right? Yeah, and that's okay. That's my journey. I'm kind of near the twilight. I'm 63. I've been doing this for 45 years. I'm out of school, and life is good. I still love what I do, but I don't have the same drive. So for me, I'm waiting for somebody else to do that. I'm happy to, contribute where I can in my way, and I think that's important because we gotta listen to our gut. We can't base on hype. Yeah, I can do this, and because that's gonna lead you down some false road. You're gonna find, it's like in your better moments, what do you believe you're capable of and willing to commit to, and when you're at your best, that's a good time to set your bearings. So somebody else may be successful with it, and wish them well. And I think there are a lot of lessons to learn. And it's just, like I said, I think if in doubt, take it slower, tortoise in the hare.
Smart.
For sure. When at 2:27, I said to Solomon, like, okay, listen, we're gonna do a hard 45 minutes, like a hard stop at 45. But if the conversation dies at any point, like we're not dragging this out, like we're gonna say goodbye, we're gonna sign off. We're about a minute over now, and I want to be super respectful of the four of you and your time. So number one, great first episode. Kelly, you are hired. Tell Mr. Kiefer he can fly whenever he wants on Tuesdays. Sounds great. Love to have him, but it's good either way. But amazing, guys. Thank you so much. And I think I will see everybody again in 2 weeks. Sounds awesome.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
then.
Thanks, guys. Nice hanging with you guys. Take
Thank
care,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
I see you at the
Thanks, guys.
concert.